Hey guys, welcome to my very first podcast, Leaders of a New School. Here we're going to discuss education and the total reformation that needs to happen. Not only are we going to discuss the problems, because I don't like problems, I'm a more of a solution type of person. So I want to try to create a design as we go along that can be part of the reformation of education, if that makes sense to you guys. So, leaders of a new school, meaning, do we even need school? What is school? Is it still serving the same purpose that it once did when it first began? School has evolved throughout the years. So, is the idea that we have now for school, is it still viable? Is it still useful? Is it still needed? Is it still serving our purpose in society? I like to think that what's happening right now is definitely not serving its purpose. Things have changed. Um, the, the, the landscape of what's needed for education has changed. So, therefore, if we still have the same confines of school that we have now, we're doing a disservice to everyone in society. So let me introduce myself. My name is Andrea, and I am the CEO of International Scholars Academy. It's an online program where we actually invite the parents to design their own curriculum based upon the needs of their children. I've been teaching or in the education field for over 30 years, serving as a teacher, serving as curriculum coordinator, serving as program director, different different walks of life, different hats I've had on in my educational field. I have a master's in education and a master's in special education. And I did my doctorate for curriculum specialization. We're going to talk about a little bit more about what happened during my doctorate career. That's going to be later on down the line. But for right now, that was just a little synopsis of what's going to what about a little bit about myself. This is an interview that I listened to. It's Damon Dash. I don't know if you guys know about Damon Dash. For those of you who do not, Damon Dash is an entrepreneur. He is he was part of the ownership of Def Jams, and responsible for numerous people uh, getting their stardom. He was on an interview where he was discussing. I don't know. It's Willie D's podcast. It's called Willie D Live. And he has his own podcast where he is interviewing different entertainers. With this particular episode, he interviewed Damon Dash, and Damon Dash talks a lot about entrepreneurship. And the clip that we're going to hear is a really, really interesting statement that he made concerning education and doing what you love. Let's listen to him.
It's exactly that. If you love what you do and there's no rules that come with them, you're gonna work when you feel. And if you like what you do, you'll do it all day long. If it's your dream, why would you not do it and do it till you're the best at it? So the trick is to figure out what you love to do and make that your profession. But we're trained to do things we don't like. It starts with school. You're trained to sit behind a desk for 8 hours a day while the sun is up in dim light with walls that look like jail and hospital walls. And you're supposed to get used to that and then pay to do it again when you get out of school to get back in college, then pay it off by sitting behind a desk and doing exactly what they trained you to do. And no one that's teaching you business is a millionaire. No one that's teaching you about music has a hit record. It doesn't make sense. So I got kids in college that listen, and I say this. My son listens to his professor more than me about business. He goes to school for business. I'm like, your professor ever made $1 million? Who pays your professor? So why you listening to him before me? You know what I mean? Why you in their school and not mine? I never saw school on any hieroglyphic. Have you?
Absolutely
I
not.
never saw school in any pyramid or any of that. I think parents are supposed to teach their kids. But you're trained to give your child away to an adult you don't know, to teach your kid how to survive in life. And they're not surviving the way you. That's why when I was in school, I was like, yo, I'm 16 with a better car than you. Why would I listen to you? Even though I might have had it for the wrong reasons in that moment, there was nothing that person was doing or had that I wanted. There was no knowledge they can give me. Like, I work with the OSG. That's a couple of hundred black principals or principals from economically challenged places. And what they tell me and what I've learned, a couple of things. Number one, if your reading scores are low, you go into jail. That's the metrics. That's the algorithm, you know. Number two, if you give a kid love, but
Stop right there. He made some really good points. One of the points that he's making is that we have trained ourselves to give our children to people that they don't know, to educate them for their own purposes, instead of educating the children or taking control of the education of our children ourselves. Another point that he made is where the children are getting taught by people that have no idea of what it takes because they haven't been successful in the fields that they're teaching, whether it's business or whether it's marketing or whether it's, he said, the entertainment field. You're in front of a professor, and it's funny because I just had this conversation with one of my daughters, where and I'll bring her on the show as well, but where we were talking about resumes, and I was telling her resume needed to be changed. And she said, well, the professor said that this is how it's supposed to be, this is how it's supposed to be. And I was telling her, but I hire teachers. I look at resumes all the time. I know what they're looking for in this particular field. And she's like, but the professor, I'll say the professor hasn't hired any teachers at all. So this is one of the things that Damon Dash was speaking about, that you have these people that aren't professionals in whatever they're teaching, or they're not in the field. They haven't shown the success in that field, yet they're teaching it. So they're not a business person. They haven't made successful business, but yet they're teaching business. Now this is more for universities and colleges, but I'm wondering, what about the elementary, the middle school, the high school level? Is that one of the reasons why we're losing our children interest in education? Because the system has gotten so out of touch with the needs of the children. So is education still inspiring? Or is it, as Damon Dash has said, it's just setting them up to be worker bees? And we know that this is why the actual schools began to teach their ideology, to teach them how to work in the field. It used to be a time when they had trading schools or in vocational schools where they taught a skill, but they took that away. So now you're not teaching skills. You're not teaching them to have skills of survival anymore. You have them teaching more of how to be worker bees. So this is something that we're going to have to dive into later on in different podcasts. What I want to do is bring in, I don't want to just look at the United States education. I don't want to just speak about the education in the urban areas. I want us to look at education around the world and how the world views education. How are some parents taking control? Because now homeschool has skyrocketed. There's more, I think it said 1.9 or 2.7 million children in the United States are being homeschooled. And Forbes, I think this was in Forbes magazine, where they said that online schooling it increased 900%. So there's definitely a shift that's going on in the United States, but I want to take a look at what's happening in other countries as well and other educational systems. We have unschooling, we have homeschooling, we have schooling where the it's project based. We have so many different types of schooling with cons and pros that if we come together and we look at all of these cons and we look at all of these pros, we can definitely design an education that can benefit our children, not just for now, but for the future as well. So I hope that you stay tuned. I'm going to bring in my daughters later on so that they can also discuss how they're being inspired or uninspired in the education in the world of education. So stick with us. Keep coming back. Give us your thoughts. Give us your opinions. Let us know how you're feeling because we're all in this together. If you're caring about our children like I'm caring about our children, and I know that you are, then I think that this will be the podcast for you. And you'll see it. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it in my eyes, the passion. You might can't see my entire face, but you can see it in my eyes. My eyes will let you know that some of this is crazy that's happening, but at the same time, it's a lot of good that's happening in the education world too. So let's talk about it.
I think very deeply. I think very deeply. I think very deeply.
Okay, so I have with me my daughters, my stepdaughters, to help us discuss the whole education, and I want the perspective of students. Since this is the first podcast, I thought that we start with the students because that's who we're servicing. Just to give you some quick background, Sumaya is in her second year of college. She's also studying to become an educator. Nuseba and Rueda, they are in their last year of high school, and they have started their journey of trying to find the right career and the right college and things like this. And then we have Zahra, who is still in middle school, and she's beginning, and that's a good thing. and she's getting ready to start her high school years, so she's in her formative years as well. So we're trying to understand, is school still needed? Not education, because we know that education is always going to be needed, but is school still
Like the
needed?
physical school?
Yes, the physical school, the institution of school, is that still needed, and is it creating inspiration? Okay, so so we can all, and remember audiences, it's in the eyes. It's in the eyes. You want to know what we're truly thinking? Look into our look into the eyes. All right, who wants to begin?
I can go ahead.
Okay.
I think school is definitely still needed, not just for inspiration, but like for children to have friends their age, to get out, to go on even like school trips, field trips, to, like have a play in the development of a child. Having other people responsible for you other than a parent also has respect on plays on a child's development. So school is definitely still needed, not just online school or like a book in front of you.
Okay.
I don't think school is needed, the physical aspect of it, because there's still homeschool programs, there's still YMCAs, you can still find friends in your neighborhood or online. You don't need the physical aspect of sitting down in a chair around in these walls, looking at a board, listening to people speak. You don't need it anymore.
I would say you don't need school as long as you have different activities to substitute that. Because most of the time, school really gives us social connection, structure. But as long as, like Rueda said, if you can find other outlets like the YMCA, homeschool clubs, and all that, then you don't really need school. And like the thing of having other adults, that sometimes, but also it gets kind of weird because your teacher might end up becoming your third parent, and that will sometimes ruin relationship,
structure.
that family structure. So I don't think school is needed. I just think the activities and social connection that school gives you is needed.
I feel the same from experience because
Go ahead.
I feel school is kind of sort of needed because growing up, I didn't go like friends' houses. I didn't go to the YMCA stuff like that. So I feel like it is needed for like certain children. Like Ruwais, she is like a track star, so she possibly didn't really need school because she was still around like her friends and like that. But for me, I didn't like go out. I didn't play any sports. I didn't go anywhere. So I feel like school is still needed for some kids who don't go out.
She lost her
Yeah.
social connection.
And
Social connection.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
important for social connection also to some people who like attend public school. Public school is a little bit of a downlook on it, but it provides a lot of things to like do like socially and like connecting stuff like that. But if you look at some people who were homeschooled, you see that they are missing that social skill that also will affect them getting a job when they get older, affect them connecting with other people. So school is definitely needed for the social build unless there is something that we can establish that can substitute for that, take that what actual school gives.
I
Go ahead.
I think it depends on the parent because for our younger years we were homeschooled and then we were in private school, and I'm an extrovert. I don't miss any of the social aspect. It depends on the parent.
What's funny to me right now is that we're speaking about a school needed, and you guys are stating it's needed not for the purpose of educating, but for the purpose of socialization.
No, because you get education
So-
out of everything.
You can get education anywhere. YouTube University.
and no, it's true.
Practical education
Yeah.
at home or
But like you stuff like general like social skills and like other stuff that may not be taught in school, you learn from your friends and like teachers and stuff like that.
So really, the purpose of school has changed. The purpose of school is no longer to educate because we're finding other ways to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not even that, but like
Oh,
even
she wants to-
sorry, but even sorry, but even like in schools, they really focus on like building clubs, building this, going on trips, and that's the core building of like social thing. Because you have in high school, we had all these clubs. We weren't learning anything. We were really just socializing and getting along with each other, hanging out, and doing something for our community. And education is like nobody wanted to go to math class, but you really wanted to go to band club practice afterwards. Nobody wanted to go to science. Everybody wanted to go to like what was it like robotics or something like that because you were actually doing something.
Yeah, I remember even I probably shouldn't tell them this, I hope this isn't bad parenting 101. Don't judge me if it is. But even in high school, I remember being in the hallway more than I was in the classroom. Legit. Like those bathroom breaks were really important to me. Legit. So with that being said, then we have to look at, is school not inspiring us in the classrooms? The only time we're getting inspired now is amongst each other.
I think it depends on the student
Yeah.
and what they're looking for. Because, for example, I want to go to med school, so I was more inspired in my science classes than my math and other stuff. It depends.
True. I think each student needs to be able to explore their own pathways because that's also the thing. Like you'll see vocational schools, their students are a little bit more inspired and happy to go to class because the classes they have are the classes they want. Whereas normal public school, you're taking classes because you have to, not because you want to. So it really depends on the school, how they set up their curriculum.
Yeah, and also too with does your question stretch to like university too as well? Because I think that changes for university. Speaking like personally from my experience, like I hate doing university online. It is the most tedious thing in the world to me right now. When I was in physical university, I was really getting it. I may have like had a 70, but I was actually learning. Like when we had earth science, it was really hands-on math. I was in the classroom learning because your development not only depends on the teacher, but the peers that are around you to help you bounce your opinion and bounce your own ethical thinking on the classwork and stuff.
Also, what I found out about you is that you are highly social. You thrive off of interactions.
Yeah.
So I can't see that online would be
It's horrible.
It's-
And
Yeah, but it does. It does. It
because
depends on the
and I mean
individual.
that, but like online school, it really just it's like staring at it's textbook work. That's what it feels like. It's constant textbook work, just staring at a textbook.
It's interesting that even when we're speaking about university, because I'm wondering how the progression from middle school to high school to university even helps. Because when I was looking at the Oxford data, and they stated that 40% of college students do not graduate
But they socialize.
within their but they socialize within their 4 years. They'll go back to it, or they might take an extra year. Like 6 years is no, it used to be 4 years used to be the thing, but now it's like it's taking 6 years, and it's becoming more and more expensive. So, and it used to be where parents were telling them, no, you're going to school for this, you're going to be a doctor. But now I think that that generation that's in the university and the high schools now are not seeing employment for others as their career goal. Everyone now want to be a creator. They want to be, they want to do their own thing, and they want to go into their interests. And that probably begins back in when you're little. You just want, the thing that you're interested in is the thing that you want to be a part of.
That's like saying like if when a parent, like you see like a kid is interested in something, a parent takes it away, you start seeking it out when you get older. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because in elementary school, you're allowed to have more creativity, but as soon as you get to high school and middle school, it's so much structure and it just stifles you. It's a loss
Yes.
of motivation.
We take
So
away the
transition-
creativity.
Yeah.
that transition. So it's safe to say that elementary and like daycare is needed, but like middle school, high school can be.
I think it depends, because middle school we did project-based curriculum, and I enjoyed my middle school because
yeah.
you're doing projects and you're implementing your math, your science, your English in your own way. And then you do get to high school and it gets stifling, but then nowadays we're able to go online and you see other creators and what they're doing and their journey, so you feel, I don't know, motivated.
I
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
feel that we stifle our children the moment we put them in a classroom.
Yes.
And that's why I love that song so much. The song,
Flowers are red?
Oh, yeah.
yeah. 'Cause the little boy, he wants to make his flowers all these different colors, and she's like, no, roses are red. And so she drills it into him so much that he's miserable coloring his rose red. So I think that in kindergarten, we start, or even before, we start telling them, no, these are color in the lines.
Yeah.
And it's from that point on that we're teaching them conformity only,
Yeah.
not thinking
I think that's why,
outside
like,
of the
with the
box.
university students, they stop wanting to go to college because finally you're an adult. You don't have to conform to the rules anymore. You go make your own pathway.
And you see that was high key the thinking though. When 'cause, like when I was thinking, I wanted to go to biological science, right? But I was like, why am I gonna sit here and force myself to do work that I am not gonna want to do when I can just do something I genuinely want to do? And that was the thinking. Like, I'm an adult now, I can choose that. But some people may have that other thinking, like, I want to go into philosophy, not hating on anybody who's a philosopher in 2024, but so it does trace back to that parenting and like the environment you have when you're in school.
I want to talk about the difference. New Saban Roweda, you bring in a different experience, and I know you were just talking about how your middle school was project based. So you did a couple of years, or the majority of your years,
Yeah.
overseas in the Arab land. So can you talk just what's the difference of the culture of learning there? Is it the same, or what? Can you just speak to that experience?
I feel like learning overseas, the teachers were more creative and the teachers wanted to see so much creativity. But then in the States, the teachers didn't really put in a lot of the work. Like, it was more so, this is your papers, fill out these papers, you'll get graded by the end of the year. It wasn't like, even when we did have projects, they were really weak in the creative department. Like, the teachers didn't really try their best. But then overseas, it was a lot of classroom. Like, the class had to come together, make a project. It was fun. Like, we had fun learning.
But was there a particular country that was more geared toward that than the other type of countries?
I think in Dubai specifically, it was very creative.
Yes.
I do think they pushed the children to do more. Because, for example, in the States, it's the same test that the people from graduated from 2006 have been taking. There's no changes
Same
in
standard,
the test.
all that.
But for example, in this school, it was different every year. There's no way to cheat. There's no way to already know the answer. You have to come prepared. You have to, I don't know, be on your toes.
I want to touch upon the part where you said that the teachers are lacking that creativity in American schools. I also think because, like, if I'm not sure if I haven't studied abroad anywhere else, but I also think that it's based on respect. Like in the Arab lands, in Ireland, the students have more respect for the teachers, and in America, the teachers are really focused on being liked, being that favorite teacher.
That social factor,
It's
yeah.
that social thing. Yeah, they're really focused on. Oh my God, my students like me. I'm not saying this is for all teachers. I'm saying for the majority in like public schools, based on experience, that teachers really try to focus on being liked, unless they're an ethnic, put my
I was
foot
about
down
to
kind
say,
of teacher.
I think
Now-
it depends on the school.
Now, okay, so I can speak to this because I taught abroad and I taught in America as well, and I will definitely say America is about edutainment. It's a lot of entertainment that goes into educating the child, and that's one of the things that kind of like made it kind of like forced me out of education in a way because I felt like I had to be I had to always be on 10, making
show.
yeah, because they're showing the teachers that's getting the awards are the ones who's learning all the different handshakes. They're singing it's like I have to almost be a TikTok creator in order to educate, so it became overwhelming.
It's also the difference between relationships. For example, in the States, you're very buddy-buddy with your teachers. They're your friend. You're going there to talk and play with them. But overseas, you do see the teacher as your mother or your nanny. Like,
Yeah.
they're there with you all day, you know?
Yeah.
So it goes back to that respect level.
Yeah. And
For example, I'm not gonna name names, but like said teacher, I would go over there. I'll be like, like the one I taught science. Now I couldn't joke with her a certain way, but another teacher on the downstairs, I can joke around with and like, oh hey, what's up? How are you doing? Kind of thing,
which is a benefit. You want to have relationships with your students, but yeah, when does it get into it crosses it becomes tiresome because it's taking over the education part. If I don't have, like, for me, I'm not, and Zahra probably can attest to that. I'm really the type of teacher where education is foremost. I'll help you tie your shoe. I've helped tie a lot of shoes. I help wipe a lot of noses. I've listened to a lot of tears. However, it's one of those things where, look, get it together. Get it together, and let's come to the business of educating ourselves. So, the friendship, yes, but first is more like parenting. I'm your parent before I'm your friend. I'm your teacher before I'm your friend, and you get that.
Let's go back to like the.
I wonder if, I was about to say, I wonder if that relates to the children because in the States, I mean, they've had education for so many years. They're starting to see that you can just drop out and you might be successful. So teachers are trying to entertain so they stay in
To
school.
bring 'em back to
But
interest them.
overseas education, I don't want to say is fairly new, but it's still seen as important.
Right.
Some people's parents haven't gone to college, so yeah, it's their priority now. So they're like, go to school, do well.
Yeah, because they're first generations. What you think, Zahra? I want to pull you in. What are you thinking? Especially because you've been mostly homeschooled, right? So, how do you see not having that entertainment factor? Versus what's I guess I want to ask you what's inspiring you, or what's keeping you interested, or are you not even interested in learning? How do you feel about learning?
I feel like the after result, after like high school and college, I feel like well, mostly because like you can get famous for a lot of things you do. Like if you are a doctor, you can get famous for being like saving people's lives. And well, I want to be a cook. I want to be, you know, a chef, and I want to see the afterwards. I want to see.
It's not even an hour then.
I want to see like where I'm gonna be going. If I'm gonna cook for like a famous person, if I'm gonna be like a world famous chef. Like I want to see the.
So you're looking at the possibility.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah,
Okay, so the discussion is one of the things that the point that Zahra brought up is that she's looking for what's exciting her, what's helping her to push on is the possibilities of what will happen at the end. But then those possibilities, it's so long because school is so long. I mean, you have 12 years and then another 4 years and then another 8 years afterwards before you can even.
Specialty.
Yes, for a specialty, to do what you really love to do, you know, so,
and work until you die.
yeah, and then think about that, because then as soon as you go out of school to finally get into what you want to do, you only have a little bit of time left to live, to live it right, you know,
I
so.
have a question though. If this is just open in general, if there is no school, like after, like if there is no work after school, what is there to do? Like, what would you do?
What do you mean work after school? Like the day or like after your
Like I'm saying,
university
like if
and all
after
that?
you get your degree and everything, and you don't have to work after that, what do you do?
True.
And I feel like we were set up to like not
think about that.
think about a possibility after that.
I feel like that's also the problem where burnout happens because you think all your life is just school. That's your only purpose.
yeah.
School, work, getting to university. Like that's the thing why sometimes students are dropping out of university because they're like, I worked so hard just to get to university, but what happens now?
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
That scares a lot of people. But after that,
Hey, what would you do?
But that's,
enjoy my money.
yeah, no.
If I'm working,
You don't,
but
but
you're
you're poor now. You
Oh,
poor,
poor
spend
now.
it all on your degree.
But my
Depression.
thing is that's yeah, but that's what happens, and I think it goes back to what Damon Dash was stating. It's because we have been conditioned to think that we have to be in these walls, we have to get this paper, we have to get this degree, then we have to go and work for someone else.
Yeah.
When really the people that's making the most money and living their lives the best work for themselves doing something that they love.
Yeah.
The fact that Zahra, she wants to be a chef. She could be working in the kitchen now, having somebody, going under someone now to learn the ins and outs of cooking, and from that she's going to learn her measurements. She's going to learn the add. She's going to learn the subtract. She's going to learn to read. She's going to learn how to write. She's going to
Yeah.
learn all of those things. So why waste time in a school building
Yeah.
when she can go right into what she loves and learn the way that she wants to learn?
I also think they don't focus on children's interests at a young age because they don't. Middle school, they believe you don't know what you want to be. They think you're gonna change that in high school. Oh, you're gonna change that when you get to university. They don't take it seriously.
Did anyone ever ask you guys, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Constantly.
I wanted to be a soccer player. My mama told me no.
I wanted to do ballet. She said
I don't
no.
even like soccer.
You had those football dreams. Sorry. But so I guess that's why you do become disillusioned.
But I feel like the question is stressed a lot to younger kids. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? That question is always stressed, but I don't think it's taken serious.
Yeah.
Unless the kid gives a wow statement to the.
They're
to
like,
the
oh, you want
person
to be a
who's
doctor?
asking.
Okay, fine. You'll probably change
Oh,
that
that's
later.
cute. People say that's it's not taken. It's not validated. It's not validated enough.
And we only expect them to say
I want
professions
Yeah.
that are looked at as respectable. If they say, oh, I think I want to be a street artist. I think I want to be a construction worker. I think I want to, it's like, oh, really? Oh, how about a doctor? How about a policeman? So I think that,
Even, oh my god! Even in the costumes, when you get like costumes for children in elementary school, they're construction worker, police officer, doctor, or like a vet. Those are the only outfits they like really produce for kids.
They condition us. They condition us. So I want to take a look at how, I don't know, from this conversation, and we're going to end it here, but from this conversation, I don't believe school is needed. I believe that socialization is needed. I believe that we have to learn to really learn how to re-educate or unthink what education is so that we can move on and rebrand it. Exactly, rebrand it, because just thinking about Zahra just now, I'm like, am I doing a disservice, having her did you bake bread yet? Did you learn how to bake bread yet?
Kind of, sort of, something like that.
Doing that bread the other day. She knows how to do that bread.
I
She
have
knows
her
how to
make
bake bread.
flatbread all the time.
So we're in one of the upcoming podcasts, we're gonna have this girl in the kitchen and see what types of math and science we can learn. She can learn just from baking bread, because that to me is an education that's needed.
That's
So
that hands-on activity.
yeah, that's that project.
And that's what I like too. This the hands-on project-based stuff.
Yeah, that project-based learning.
Like
So
you're doing something you really want to end up doing.
exactly. So
It's actually
Okay,
why
go
I
ahead.
wanted to go to a culinary school, because hands-on. Because like if you have a hands-on project, it's much easier to do stuff because you get like kids who like want to like touch stuff, like they have like what's it called? Yeah, like they have sensory issues. They want to have hands-on stuff. If you don't have hands-on stuff, you just have a book in front of you. It's much harder than focusing on the book and playing with something.
I feel like I'm about to get burned at the stake, but you can't. I feel like you can't completely take out traditional textbook schooling. I just think it needs to go up to maybe a little less than middle school, and then after that, once you know your interests, or you take a test and they find your interest, whatever, you go on your pathway. Because certain professions, you do need to have that textbook work down. You have to have a foundation before you go out there and start operating on people or whatever you do.
But how will the textbook help? How does the textbook help? I love book, but
For example, I think the problem nowadays, well, this is just for online school because I don't know if they know any other way to teach, but it's all textbooks. So when something gets too much, read this every single time, it gets irritating. What do you? Wait, hear me out.
I was about to say not.
Hear me out.
let me do a shameless. I have to do a shameless plug, because at the International Scholars Academy, it is not textbook.
Okay.
It's a curriculum that's designed to help your students get outside of that textbook and become hands-on. That's why we do things project-based learning. So I just had to put in that shameless plug, and our website is down at the bottom, so you can look at the link down at the bottom and see what we're about and what we're trying to do. And we're also going to do workshops to help you learn what project-based learning is and how maybe you can do that at home as well. So don't forget to hit the like button if you go to Facebook, the like button, I think, in YouTube, the subscribe button. Please subscribe and share and do all of those things, because we're going to help redesign and rethink of how education should be. So I'm going to give everybody their final, if there's something else that needs to be said, or their final thoughts on education and what did we come up with? What's your final outcome? Because the question was, is school still needed? So let everyone now answer that question based upon what our conversation that we had.
It is needed, but it needs to be rebranded. And what? Yeah, rebranded. It needs to be rebranded. It needs to be worked on.
Yeah. I think school is needed, but it does need to be changed to benefit the students and to entertain the student.
I don't think school is needed up to a certain amount of points, but I feel like really what's needed is the outside activities. Like it could be homeschool and you could get all the same things you get if you were actually going in school. I feel like school is needed if you want structure, not so much for anything else. Because the textbook stuff, that paper, those tests and everything, that standardized learning, that helps you learn structure and helps you learn discipline. That's why school is needed, if anything, because of discipline.
You can do that from doing a sport.
True. So school might not really be needed.
Okay. All right. And Zahra?
I feel like school is probably needed, not for all the years, but most of the basic stuff, because the rest of it you can learn somewhere else. YouTube.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat. She's not a Snapchat baby. She's not a Snapchat baby. And I'm going to end it with my thought. I believe that school may be needed for the foundational periods, and then after that, we have to try to branch out and make it more functional. And I don't know if sitting in a building is going to represent real life and give us the life skills that we need now. No, we got to save it to the next podcast. So we're ending this one now, but I hope that you join us again and come back as we become leaders of a new school. Bye.
I think